So welcome everybody. We are live and in person. We're also broadcasting on the internet, so we got a big audience online as well. And by the way, if you are listening on GoToWebinar, you are live. And if you are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitch, you may or may not be live. But if you'd like to attend a future live event, you're always welcome to join us at one of our many events at flipping.com/events. So let's get started. People ask me all the time, what's the best way to get started investing in real estate? Because there's so many ways that you can play. I do both residential, I do commercial, I do active, and I do passive. So what's the best one, right? Where's the best place to go? Well, I would say there's no one that's better than others. They're all good, right? There's no right or wrong answer. But the question is, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? So for example, if you told me what I'm trying to do is quit my job, replace my income, create a side hustle, create some more money, then I'm going to say you should be flipping houses. Flipping houses is the fastest way to make a six-figure income. You can do this in a short amount of time. There's many ways to do it. You can do it with money. You can do it without money. It's how most people get started. But if you tell me, well, I'm not really looking to replace my job. I'm looking to build my wealth, right? I want to be wealthier when I retire. I want to have a nice big nest egg. Then I'm going to tell you, you should be buying rental properties. In my opinion, everybody should be buying rental properties. I've been buying rental properties for 20 years. So now I own $30 million worth of houses. And most of my wealth literally came from decisions I made 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I thought, Austin's growing. I want to own as much Austin as possible. So I bought a whole bunch of houses. And you know what happened to those houses? They doubled in value, and they doubled again. And some of them have doubled a third time, right? And tenants paid off the mortgages, which is really freaking awesome. And it's a great way to build your wealth. Now, if you say, well, the problem I have is I have a pile of money, and I want to double my money. And I want to do it in something better, safer, higher return than the stock market. Then I would say you should be investing in commercial syndications. Commercial syndications typically have twice the return of the stock market and a lot less risk. When people learn about commercial syndications, they never go back to the stock market. It's like if you ask a financial planner, what do you think of commercial syndications? You know what they're going to say? Oh, no, bad idea. You don't want to do that. They hate commercial syndications. You know why? Because as soon as their clients find out about commercial syndications, they lose their clients because they never go back. Once you start investing in commercial syndications, you never go back to the stock market, right? And that's a great way to solve the problem of just taking a pile of money and doubling it, right? Passively with an investment. And then if you said, no, I'm here to make the big bucks. I want to make $1 million a deal. I want to make millions of dollars a deal. That's what I'm here to do. I'm going to say you should do commercial syndications. You should be syndicating commercial deals. Now, the only catch is, yeah, you can make big money, but it's not fast money. A typical commercial syndication is a 5-year deal. So yeah, you can make $3 million, $4 million, or even more, but it's going to take time, like 5 years. So if you're like looking to quit your job in the first year, you're not going to do that with a commercial syndication. So they're all good, right? All of these things are good things to do. And I play in all 4 quadrants, and I recommend that you play in all 4 quadrants. But the question is, when it comes to getting started, what problem are you trying to solve? We'll tell you kind of where you might want to start. Most people start flipping houses. And I'm going to go through about a dozen different ways to do that. And it's a great way to make income, build wealth with or without money. Now, once you start learning how to buy houses, I'm going to tell you should keep some of them. Don't sell them all, right? Keep some of them because that will build your long-term wealth. And then once you have more money than you need to pay your bills, you're going to want to make money with your money. And I'm going to tell you the best way to make money with your money is to put it in commercial syndications. And I got to tell you, when you invest in commercial syndications, you're going to learn how they work. Because you're going to meet the sponsor, you're going to see the project, you're going to get a copy of the business plan, you're going to watch it get executed right before your eyes, and then you're going to double your money. So if you put 50 in, you get 100 back. And if I translate that, you just got paid $50,000 to learn how it works, right? And then after you learn how it works, you're going to want to do it yourself, and then you're going to start syndicating your own deals. So we do all of this stuff, and we have different groups and training programs and things like that to teach people all of these different things, right? Just depending on what you're trying to do. I'm going to go through part of the training right now by talking about kind of where most people get started, which is probably in residential real estate. So we do residential, and then we'll talk about commercial. So when it comes to residential real estate, there's about a dozen ways you can play. We use about 12 different strategies to flip houses and then one more for buying and holding houses. And I'm going to talk about some of these strategies because you can do this with money, you can do this without money, you can do this with other people's money. It's relatively quick compared to commercial, and it can replace your job or income if that's something you're looking to do. So that's what we're going to get into. And by the way, any of you that don't know me, I didn't really get introduced earlier. My name is Phil Grove. I've been a real estate investor here in Austin since 2003. Flipped my first house on December 15, 2003. It took me 6 months to do my first deal. Took me 5 days to do my second deal. I was a little bit of a slow starter, but then I got going. And then within a few years, I'd done hundreds of deals. Now I've gone over 1,200 deals. Own about $30 million in rental properties. So that's where I built my nest egg, from buying rental properties. Tenants paid off most of the mortgages, so most of them I own free and clear. That's pretty cool. And I've actually made a lot of money, obviously, flipping houses as well. Once you figure out how to do it, it gets easier and easier, I promise. And it scales in a really nice way. And as it gets easier, you do more deals, you can make a lot of money doing that. And I've also taught over 100,000 people how to invest in real estate. I'll talk about that. I did not have some plan or ambition to ever teach anybody anything about real estate. It just kind of happened by accident. We call this bringing people along for the ride. I'm going to tell you this real estate thing. Once you get this going, here's the thing. If you ask your friends, family, if you ask anybody about investing in real estate, you know what they're going to tell you? Real estate's a really dumb idea. It's a really dumb idea. Okay, right up until the second you do what? You make money. And the second you make money, it becomes a brilliant idea. Okay, and then they're going to say, show me how to do that. So I wanted to be a real estate investor 20 years ago, didn't know what I was doing. I actually learned at this very REIA, the Austin REIA, 20 years ago. And then once I got going, I'm an engineer by trade, I'm a creative real estate investor. And once I started doing this stuff, there's always new people coming into the REIA, and some of the new people would see me talking about it, and they'd be like, oh, I see you're doing this, and I'm new. Hey, can I take you to lunch? Can I pick your brain? And, well, I like talking about real estate. I like eating lunch, so yeah, sure, whatever. And I just kind of became the guy you take to lunch to pick his brain and talk about real estate, and at the REIA. And I became so much that guy, I was literally going to lunch with people like 3 or 4 days a week. And finally, my wife says, look, I don't mind you going to lunch with all these people. What I do mind is you're going to lunch for like 3 or 4 hours a day, right? You can't go to lunch for 3 or 4 hours a day. Why don't you just tell all these people that want to pick your brain and talk about this, why don't we just stick them all in a room together and talk to them at the same time? Because it would be way more efficient, right, to talk to 20 people at a time once than one person at a time 20 times. And so we started to just offer classes at the REIAs, and that grew and grew and grew into a whole statewide thing called the Texas REIAs. These are some of the deals that made me money. I don't have time to go through them all, but yeah, I do a lot of different types of transactions. In fact, I do up to a real estate transaction a week in some shape, form, or variety. And what that does is it creates money in big chunks. Now that sounds cool, right? Money in big chunks. I'm not here to sound cool. I'm here to teach you. So how does this business fundamentally work? The way this business fundamentally works is as follows. We do things to get people with problems to call us. So what kind of problems? They have a house they don't want, a mortgage they can't afford. Problems to entrepreneurs are what? Opportunities. Big problems are what? Big opportunities. So if you're thinking like, I don't want any problem, you're thinking, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. Okay? Every entrepreneur has that in common with every entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneurs add value by solving problems. So we're real estate entrepreneurs. So we have to understand what are the problems in real estate, and we have to understand what are the solutions to those problems. We're going to talk about that. So let me give you some specific examples. I found somebody facing foreclosure, and I taught them how to did a short sale. I allowed them to sell their house without having to bring money to the table, without completely destroying their credit. And I made $16,000 helping somebody solve a problem. Got an REO. REO stands for real estate owned, bank-owned properties. Banks don't want to own real estate. So I took it off the bank's hands. I flipped it. I made $36,000. I got a property from a guy who had a legal problem, had to sell a house by Friday. A realtor cannot sell your house by Friday. I can. Wholesaled it, made $5,000. Got a property subject to my specialty, no money, no credit, flipped it, $68,000. $5,600 for an assignment, $6,000 for a mortgage assignment, $10,000 for a wholesale, $2,800 for a small referral, $12,400 for a large referral. The way this business works is as follows. We do things to get people with problems to call us. And then here's the really beautiful part. For every problem that exists, so listen to this point, for every problem that exists, for every house that exists, for every homeowner that exists, we have a strategy that helps them, solves their need, it's about helping people, solving their needs, and gets us paid. We can help motivated sellers, we can help non-motivated sellers. We can help people that own their houses free and clear, we can help people that are hopelessly underwater, where they owe more money than the house is worth. We can help them to solve the problem and get paid. Sometimes we get singles, sometimes we get doubles, sometimes we get home runs. Sometimes I work on a lead, a deal, an opportunity, a problem for 6 months, and after 6 months I make $5,000. And I'm like, oh man, 6 months, $5,000. I could have made more money working at Walmart. Thank goodness I'm not working on just one lead at a time. Sometimes my phone rings and that phone call makes me $55,000 in 48 hours. And I'm like, oh man, I wish every time my phone rang I made $55,000 in 48 hours. But that's not how it works either. That's maybe 1 in 100 phone calls. So the question is, how often do you get 100 phone calls? Well, that depends on you and how much marketing that you do. Do you get 100 phone calls every week? Do you get 100 phone calls every month? Or do you get 100 phone calls every year? Well, that depends on you. You can control that and how much marketing that you do. So there's 2 essential skills that you have to learn to be a real estate investor, and I'm going to teach you these skills right now. And by the way, guys, there are some seats up in the front for you guys standing in the back. If you want to sit up front, we got some of the best seats in the house.
So the air conditioning is off, so it's kind of warm.
Yeah, it is warm. I have a jacket on too, so. All right, I can feel air coming down, so we're going to cool you guys off. Yeah, that would be good. So what are the 2 skills? Marketing, which is finding deals, generating leads. A lead is just a name and number of somebody that might want to sell real estate. And then the other skill we have to learn is strategy. Strategy is doing the deal, solving the problem. So marketing and strategy, finding deals, doing deals, finding problems, solving problems. These are the 2 skills we have to learn. So I'm going to teach you 65 different methods of finding off-market, because that's what we buy, off-market wholesale real estate. I'm going to teach you a dozen different strategies, solutions to problem strategies, methods to do this, to help people solve the problem and get yourself paid. Over half of the marketing methods are completely free. And 9 of the 12 investing strategies are actually no money and no credit strategies. So when you learn how to buy houses with no money and with no credit, then how many houses can you buy? Like all of them. How many do you want to buy? All of them. So when I shout out a question, if you shout back all of them, you're probably going to get it right, just so you know. Okay, so let's get started with the marketing. Oh, actually, first let me tell you a quick story. This was the very first house I bought here in Austin. Flipped this house on December 15, 2003. Not far from here. It was right in North Austin, not very far from where we are right now. And, but I'll tell you a little story. On December 14th, 2003, I was scared to death. I was actually being coached and mentored by the 2 guys who ran the Real Estate Investor Association back then. I called them both on the phone on December 14, 2003. I'm scared. Are you guys sure this is going to work? I don't want to lose any money. Yeah, it took 2 seasoned, experienced real estate investors pulling me, kicking and screaming over the starting blocks to get me to do that very first deal. So if you're scared, I get it, I can relate, and I can help. But I had one other thing that was motivating me back then to take action. I was in a job I no longer loved, and I was in a career that I no longer loved. And I got to tell you guys, if you're spending your time doing something you don't love doing, you need to do something different with your life plan. And that's exactly where I was. I just needed a different life. And I got to tell you, you get one life, and it just flies by. My wife and I recently had a baby boy, and I noticed this last weekend, there was a 15-year-old running around in my house. It's like, what happened? He's taller than me. He was a baby. It's like taller than me. It's like 15 years of my life just disappeared. It's like, what happened? Right? You just wake up and it's like, wow, I'm older, and like, wow. And I got to tell you, if you're not on a trajectory to getting the life that you want, then maybe you need to change the trajectory. I said that before, right? I bought a whole bunch of houses, like 30 houses in Austin, literally 20 years ago. I still own them all. right? And you know what my biggest regret is? I have two. One, the same regret every real estate investor has. I wish I started sooner. And my second one is I wish I bought more. If I could only go back, man, I would have bought them all. I was way too picky. I should have bought them all. Most of my wealth came from just buying them a long time ago and doing nothing with them. I handed the keys over to a property manager and said, see you in 20 years, right? And if I could only go back, I would have bought them all. Right now, you have the chance. My advice, buy them all and get started like today would be good. So let me tell you just a little bit more about the first deal, because your first deal is your most important deal in so many ways. It's like your first kiss, right? Everybody remembers their first kiss, life-changing experience. Everybody remembers their first deal, life-changing experience. Let me tell you about mine. It took me 6 months to find my first deal. Got it under contract with a contract I got right here at the REIA. Bought it using OPM, other people's money, private money. We have over 1,000 private money lenders in this network. Got a contractor here at the REIA to fix it. Got a realtor here at the REIA to sell it. Got an attorney and title company right here at the REIA to close it. And I went to that very first closing. I got that very first check, $15,000, $384.26. And I got to tell you, when they handed me that check, it was like you unscrewed the cap, popped out the old brain, popped in the new brain. Because right up until the second that they handed me that check, I was a real estate investor based on theory. And I wasn't even sure I believed the theory. But the second they handed me that check, like a switch flipping, I became a real estate investor based on experience. I didn't know anything different except I knew it actually worked. And what I realized when they handed me that check, if I do this and this and this again, I get another check, right? It worked the first time. And if I do this, this, and this again, I get another check. But the really big deal, when they handed me that check, at that moment, I realized that I would never, ever, 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 for the rest of my life, ever, ever have to work for somebody else. Ever, 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 never, ever again. And I have not worked for anybody, even for 1 second, since they handed me that check. So if you're new and you're getting started, my first piece of advice is you need to focus yourself like a laser beam on that very first deal, because that very first deal will change your life, mostly by changing your mindset. Deals 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 combined, not as hard as deal number 1. So I told you what I was going to tell you. I told you I was going to tell you what I did right, but I'm also going to tell you what I did wrong. I did make one big mistake with that very first deal. I spent all that time finding the deal. I found the deal. Once I found the deal, I put my marketing on hold. I picked up a hammer. I started managing contractors. I started working on the deal. I finished the deal. I got the check, only to wake up the next day and realize I had absolutely nothing to do. Well, except start the whole business all over again. And this gets me to my very first takeaway, and here it is. This is like rookie mistake number 1. Every rookie makes this same mistake, right? They finally find a deal, and as soon as they find a deal, they put their marketing on hold to work on the deal. As soon as they finish the deal, right, they're like, where's my next deal? And then they got to reset the marketing, right? And then eventually they get it going. Eventually they find another deal. They do a deal. They make some money. Great. That's great. But then what they did is they stopped working on the deal to work on the marketing to work on the deal, and their income goes up and down and up and down and up and down. Well, you need your income to go up, 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 up. And the only way to get your income to go up, 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 up is you always have to be working on the next deal, because the next deal is always more important than the deal you have now. The rookies all screw this up. Remember that. The next deal is always more important than the deal you have now. And then when I realized that, I realized the number 1 takeaway of this whole presentation, and here it is. The business of being a real estate investor is the business of finding deals. It's all about finding deals. Why? Because you make your money on the buy. What does that mean? As soon as you find a property and get it under contract, whatever money was going to be made or not made, it's done right at that moment. Yeah, you get the money at the end on the sell, but you make the money on the buy. And once you realize that, you always have to spend 85% of your time and money on marketing, looking for the next deal, because your next deal is always more important than the deal you have now. Like I say, the rookies all screw this up, right? They all go through. And by the way, the hint, the deals you're looking for are not in the MLS. The MLS, the multiple listing service, is the retail market for real estate. It's where realtors sell real estate. It's where all the people in the world compete with each other to see who will pay the most. And when you're competing against all the people in the world, some of those people are stupid. And you don't want to compete against stupid. Well, you don't want to win competing against stupid. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I love the MLS. I adore the MLS. Why do I love and adore the MLS? Because after I buy off-market wholesale real estate, where do I then want to go to resell it? On the MLS. It has been proven that any property put on the MLS will sell for the most it could possibly be sold for. That's just never where you're going to find heavily discounted wholesale real estate. The very best deal in the entire MLS would rarely be a deal that I would take a second look at. So, yeah, this is the rookie mistake, right? They find a deal, they stop the marketing. They reset the marketing. They find a deal, they stop the marketing. They reset the marketing. Their income goes up and down and up and down and up and down. You need your income to go up, 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 up. And the way you do that is you keep the pipeline full by spending 85% of all of your time on money on marketing, looking for the next deal, and you never stop marketing. You never stop marketing. All right. And that gets me to my next takeaway. Once I realized this whole shooting match was about finding deals, then I started to systematize the process of finding deals. And over time, I developed 65 different methods for finding deals. We're going to talk about those. Now, it's not really completely accurate to say I developed 65 methods. What would be more accurate is to say I found 65 things that work, and I started to do those things. In fact, I need to teach you all a really important lesson, maybe the most important lesson that I'm going to teach you today. But for me to teach you this next lesson, first I need to unteach you something. So I need to unteach you something. When you guys are in elementary school, and you looked over at the table next to you and you copied down the answers, that was called what? Cheating. And you're all told that cheating is what? Bad, wrong. Okay, we're not a bunch of little kids. We're not in elementary school. Okay, going forward, I need you all to unlearn that. Because going forward, guess what? Cheating is actually the shortcut. Okay, what am I saying up here? What I'm trying to say is this. There's nothing that you are trying to do, there's absolutely nothing that you are trying to figure out that I and other people haven't already done and figured out. Everything, and I mean everything, and I mean absolutely everything about this business has been completely figured out. We know what's in the soil. We know the zoning. We know the guys that write the zoning. We know the appreciation rate down to the street level across all the major streets, across all the major cities, across the state of Texas. We know the exact letters to send to the exact marketing list. We know the exact offers to make, the exact words to say. We know exactly what objections we're going to get. We know exactly how to overcome objections. We even know on average how many contracts we're going to get signed for every 20,000 letters we send out. Everything, and I mean everything, and I mean absolutely everything about this business has been completely figured out. So once I realized everything I was trying to do and everything I was trying to figure out, other people had done and figured out, then I stopped trying to figure everything out and I just started to, here's this word over here, copy, right? Copy the 65 tested, proven ways to actually find these deals. Now, some of these methods take time and some of these methods take money. So when you get started, you probably have more time and less money. And once you get going, you probably have more money and less time. I will admit I don't spend any time anymore on marketing. I outsource it all. But when you're getting started, you're probably going to insource more. So then what are all these different 65 marketing methods? Well, let me teach you a whole bunch. The first set of strategies has to do with marketing lists. These are typically called mailing lists. So what are these marketing lists? These are lists of people that may be motivated to sell real estate. What are some of the lists? Well, you can get a list of tax late lists. There's a list of people that didn't pay their property taxes. And by the way, what do you do with a marketing list? You can send them letters and postcards, or you can call them, or you can text them, or you can drop a voicemail into their voicemail box, or you can knock on their door, or you can do what I do, and I use an AI-powered chatbot to actually call, text, and email them while I'm sleeping, and then the chat thing actually interacts with them in multiple languages trying to make an appointment with me, okay? Or you can do all of those things or any combination, which is called a multi-touch campaign. So then what are some of the popular lists that we use? Well, you can get a list of properties that where people didn't pay their property taxes. People that are late paying their mortgage, 30, 60, or 90 days or 120 days late paying their mortgage. People that have filed for divorce. Two people were combining their income to pay a mortgage. Now one of them's gone. Well, the one that's left is probably going to have trouble paying the mortgage by themselves. You can get a list of people that have inherited a house from somebody that passed away. People's credit scores are falling. People that just got dismissed from bankruptcy. Certainly a lot of financial distress there. You can get a non-owner occupied list. There's a list of people that own a house that they don't live in the house they own. Well, technically, those are landlords. And a lot of them are accidental landlords. They couldn't sell the house, so they rented it. Or they let an ex-spouse or family member or friend or neighbor stay in a house, or they inherited a house with a tenant in it. They don't really know anything about being a landlord. And very often, they eventually become motivated sellers. You can get a list of people who rent to people on public assistance. You can get a code enforcement list. What is that? The city is already driving around, issuing citations for abandoned houses, hoarder houses, deferred maintenance houses. And do you know that you can get the city to give you a list of every problem property in the city? You can even get an expired listing list. What is that? That's a list of properties where people hired a realtor, put it on the market, tried to sell it for a long time, and it didn't sell. So what do we know about these people? We know 100% of these people would like to sell their house, probably now more than ever. But they also probably need solutions that realtors don't offer. Well, hello, that's exactly what investors do offer. So if you send letters or postcards or chat bots or whatever to these lists of people, some of them will call you back. It is a statistical numbers game. If you make them an offer that solves their problem, we have an offer for every problem. Some of them will say yes, and those are called deals. With a website, you can get leads on the internet, bandit signs, 18 by 24 inch Coroplast plastic signs. Why do you see them? Because they work. Online ads work, email, autoresponders, magnetic signs, a little sign on the side of your car. You buy the sign once, you get leads for the rest of your life. Door hangers, you don't want to pay postage. For 10 cents a door, you can have your door hanger put on every door in a neighborhood. Here's one that's pretty much free, driving for dollars. Sometimes I'm just driving around and I see a tarp on a roof. They might as well be waving a big red flag. Desperate motivated seller, please buy my house. I mean, think about this. Somebody's most valuable asset, a house, has a serious problem, okay, a leak, and their solution was to do what? Go buy a $5 tarp at Home Depot. How come they didn't fix the roof? So what are the other ways to find the deals? Letters of intent. What is a letter of intent? A letter of intent is an offer. So the question is, who should you send an offer to? And the answer is everybody. So I'm going to give you all your first homework assignment. Tomorrow, I want each of you to send 300 different people an offer on their house. I'm not kidding. Here's how investors think. Ready, fire, aim. You make the offer, and then you negotiate. You make the offer, and then you look for the money. You make the offer, and then you do your due diligence. You make the offer, and then you think about it. You should make everybody an offer. Why not? Do you know here in Texas, every time you make somebody an offer, you know you get 4 different options? You might want to write them down. Option number 1, you can buy a house. They might say yes. If you make 300 offers, that's 300 shots on goal. If you take 300 shots on goal, what do you think is going to happen? Something's going to go in, even if you suck. And with practice, what's going to happen? More go in, because with practice, you don't suck anymore. So yeah, option number 1, you can buy a house. Option number 2, you can terminate the contract. You know that, right? The Texas state promulgated contract gives the buyer the unilateral right to just rip it up, walk away, terminate, no harm, no foul, no cost, no penalty, no problem, right? No risk, 0. Option number 3, you can renegotiate the contract after you make it. You know it's much, much, much easier to renegotiate than it is to negotiate? Option number 4, you can even sell the contract to somebody else that has money. Notice only one of those 4 options even required you to have any money to make an offer. Just make offers, right? Give yourself options. And this is the difference between people that take a long time to get started and people that take a short time to get started. The people that get started fast just make offers, knowing what's the worst that could happen? You can rip it up, right? What's the best that could happen? They might say yes, right? Give yourself chances at being lucky. What are the other marketing methods? Business cards, FSBO, for sale by owner. Why would somebody try to sell their own house? Maybe they're lazy, maybe they're crazy, maybe they need offers that realtors don't offer. Well, hello, that's what investors do offer. Why so many different marketing methods? Well, let me ask you a question. Would you rather fish with a hook or would you rather fish with a net? And the answer is you need to learn to fish with a net. And the reason is because this business is a numbers game, and now I'm going to teach you the numbers. I'm going to teach you something right now that it took me 2 years of hard work in the trenches to figure out. So I'm going to shave 2 years of your learning curve off right now. By 2005, I've been a real estate investor for 2 years. And here's what I figured out. In my first 2 years, I generated about 400 leads. What is a lead? The name and number of somebody that might want to sell real estate. That's all it is. So I talked to somebody or looked at a house every couple of days for the first couple of years, and then I did the math. And here's what I discovered. As a rookie, on average, for every $100 I spent in paid marketing, things like direct mail, I got 1 qualified motivated seller lead. As a rookie, on average, for every 3 hours I spent on personal marketing, this is like driving for dollars, free, I got 1 qualified motivated seller lead. Then I discovered that as a rookie, on average, for every 20 leads I got, I made at least $20,000 net profit on a deal. So let me run the math for you. That means as a rookie, every time I drove around for 60 hours looking for deals, I got one that made me at least $20,000 net profit. As a rookie, every time I sent out $2,000 in direct mail, it got me at least one deal that made me at least $20,000. So spend 2,000, make 20, spend 2,000, make 20, spend 4,000, make 40, spend 8,000, make 80, spend 16,000, make 160. Spend 32,000, you don't have to spend it all at once, by the way, make 320,000 net profit. Are you starting to like the numbers? It took me 2 years to figure that out. But after 2 years, what I realized is, holy cow, this whole thing is just a numbers game, and now I know the numbers. And I started to think about this business in a completely different way. And here's how I see this business today. Today, I look at my whole business and I just see it as a little black box. And we're going to call that little black box a marketing machine. And the way that little black box works, every time I stick $100 worth of marketing in one end, eventually $1,000 worth of net profit pops out the other end. Now, if you had a little black box, every time you shoved a $100 bill in one end, a $1,000 bill popped out the other end, how many dollars would you stick in the box? All of them. And I started spending money on marketing like a drunken sailor because I knew. I finally knew. And I started spending thousands of dollars a month on marketing. And then I started spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on marketing. And then I hired 2 full-time, 6-figure guys who spend 100% of their time spending my money on marketing. One guy just runs ads, the other guy just does analytics. And now today I spend, on some months, I spend as much as $100,000 a month on marketing. Because once you know, it's a numbers game, and once you know the numbers, you dial it in and then you dial it up. And how far do you dial it up until it doesn't go any further, right? That's called dial it in, dial it up. So, sometime later I actually wrote a book. I don't offer a book anymore. I don't find books very helpful, to be honest, when it comes to real estate. And I'll tell you why. Here's what I figured out. Real estate's not that complicated. I went to engineering school. That was really complicated. I did calculus, calculus 2, calculus 3. By the time I took calculus 3, I had to remember calculus 1 and 2. It was really, really complicated. I've never had to solve a differential equation to flip a house. It's not that complicated. But unlike engineering and calculus, it's a mile deep, real estate's a mile wide. There's a million little details, right? It's not complicated, there's just a million details. And what I learned about real estate, you're not learning a skill, you're learning a language. That's what it is, it's a language. But you can't learn a language from reading a book. Go read 100 books on how to speak Spanish. You'll learn how to count to 10. That's about how far I got. There's only one way to learn a language. How do you learn a language? Yeah, exactly. You want to learn Spanish? Go to Spain. You want to eat or go to the bathroom? You learn some Spanish. And that's just, you have to immerse yourself in it. And it was not until I joined the local Real Estate Investor Association and started spending time hearing things 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 times, immersing myself, picking up the lexicon, that I got enough detail, right, data, to be able to actually do it myself. So we're about just past the halfway point in my presentation. Now I'm going to get into the strategies, arguably the more interesting part, how to. But if you remember at the beginning of this, I said my job is to make you educated and contributing members of this community. And we really want you to be educated and participatory and contributing and active. Because we do these meetings all over Texas. And whenever we do these meetings, we always have a lot of new people at the meetings. And we call the new people tourists, right? Nothing wrong with that. Like, honey, let's go check out the REIA. Like, that's a tourist, right? Nothing wrong with that. But I figured out a long time ago, nobody actually makes any money being a tourist. We need people to be active, buying, selling, investing, partnering. That's when everybody makes money. But I also figured out a long time ago that unfortunately, I can't turn you all into real estate investors in 45 minutes. If I could only figure out a way to sprinkle pixie dust around the room and turn everybody into real estate investors in 45 minutes, yeah, that would be awesome. I don't know how to do that. But I can, and I have, turned people into real estate investors over a period of 24 hours. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say 24 hours spread out over 3 days, giving us the time to get through all the nitty-gritty details of how this works. And this is why the Texas REIA sponsors the Texas Real Estate Investing Workshop. And like I said, this is Texans teaching Texans how to invest in Texas using strategies that work here. Practical, actionable, detailed, step-by-step training, where we have time over 3 days to go through all the details of these 12 strategies. You have to know them all. The 65 marketing methods, the 10 different closes. What are the closes? Closes are literally the precise words you say to get somebody to accept your solution to their problem, your offer on their property. I'll give you an example. Recently, I met a woman here in Texas, and I said some magic words to this woman, and after simply saying magic words, she gave me her house. Handed me the keys, gave me the deed. I didn't have to give her any money at all. Perfect condition house, even had a bunch of equity in it. She said, thank you for taking my house because of these magic words. Now, who's feeling a little skeptical right now? Raise your hand if you're feeling skeptical right now. Okay, who's not feeling skeptical? Seriously? What do I have to do to make you guys skeptical? I just claimed that I have magical words, and by simply uttering magic words, I got some woman to just give me her house. I didn't have to give her money. She gave me the house. She said, thank you for taking my house. I mean, that's as ridiculous as I could make it. So who's feeling a little skeptical? Raise your hand if you're feeling a little skeptical. Okay, please remain skeptical. Because in a couple of minutes, I'm going to demonstrate exactly what I did. And the more skeptical you are right now, the more amazed you're going to be a couple of minutes from now. But those are closes. Thousands of the most successful investors in Texas got started at this workshop, The Real Deal, Texans teaching Texans how to invest in Texas. So we teach it live and in person, and we also simulcast on Zoom, or you can go back and forth either way. We're going to learn how to buy only the best properties. We have heat maps. We can zero in down to the street level of exactly which neighborhoods to buy and hold in and which neighborhoods to flip in. And we're going to show you that. How to get off-market deals from outsourcing, right? We do everything with outsourcing and with AI. How to get paid for offering to renovate people's houses for free. That's a really great offer, and you get paid a lot to do that. How about 3% mortgages? Everybody's like, oh man, I wish I could have get my 3% mortgage. There's a new loan product I'm going to tell you about where you can get a 3% mortgage and it requires no credit and no money down. Sounds too good to believe? Well, hold on. I'll demonstrate in just a couple of minutes and I'll teach you the details at the workshop. We're going to learn how to have AI talk to your sellers for you. That's what I do. It even talks in multiple languages. How about how to use virtual assistants? We have virtual assistants in the Philippines that work for us to find both commercial and residential deals for us. And they cost about 10% of what they cost here. So these are just this little tidbit of what we're going to be teaching at the workshop. It's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's live and in person. It is online. These are the dates where we're going to do it. If none of the dates work for you, for example, if you have a conflict, for example, if your daughter is getting married, here's my advice. You should cancel the wedding, because the most important thing that's going to be happening on these dates that'll change your life in a really good way, right? 20 years from now, I promise your future you will say, thank you so much for going back, because that gave me some skills that completely change your life. Because we're going to tell you exactly what houses buy now that will change your life 20 years from now. So these are the dates, locations. It's the exact same workshop, Austin, Dallas, Houston. You can come to any of them. It's both live and in person and online. And if you'd like, you can register and you can attend for free. So do we have some forms, Lucas? Can you get those forms out? And we got some forms, Thomas? So yeah. So you can register for the workshop for free. Give me one of the forms. And just pick the date up at the top. I'll show you the form in a minute, how to fill it out. And let us know if you want to come live and in person or if you want to come online. Now, I will say you can also join the REIA. So I'm going to give you a little sales pitch here. It's not expensive, but if you would like to join the REIA does a lot of things for real estate investors. This is the only organization in Texas that lobbies actively on behalf of real estate investors. A few years ago, the wraparound mortgage, a very important strategy, came this close to becoming illegal in the state of Texas. If it was not for this organization and our lobbying, it would be illegal in the state of Texas. So we do all kinds of things to protect real estate investors. And as a member of the REIA, you get a lot of benefits. When you come to the workshop, you get VIP seating, you get VIP lunches and lunch sessions with me and my team. You get to be active on the Facebook group. We have over 20,000 people. Would you like to have 20,000 buyers on your buyers list? Who would like to have 20,000 buyers? Okay, would you like to have 20,000 people to borrow money from? Who would like to borrow money? Okay, would you like to have 20,000 people you can get a power team from? Who needs a power team? How about 20,000 people you can ask questions to? Who people might want to ask questions? Okay, well then join the Facebook group. We got a Texas Money Resource Guide and some special training that goes along with it as well. We also do some weekly workshops online on Zoom. So to become a REIA member, you do not have to become a member to join the event, but I would recommend that you are, and we're doing a special deal, and it's a one-time cost of $100. So if you want to join the REIA, it's $100. If you want to come to the training, it is free. And if you join the REIA and come to the training, you get VIP upgrade, VIP seating, and lunches, and a bunch of other really wonderful benefits. So you really should join it. And we also have a commercial class for our members as well. Oh, by the way, one other little quick note. I am an engineer by trade, and I invent stuff. And this is an invention of mine. It's called the blueprint. And Olivia, do you have one of those blueprints? Can you come up here and show everybody that thing for a minute? So what is a blueprint? Remember I said real estate's not that complicated. There's just a lot of details. So I'm going to show you what happens when an engineer becomes a real estate investor. This is what engineers do. So I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to write down on a blueprint the 273 things you need to know to be a real estate investor? So we got all of the different investing strategies, all of the different marketing campaigns, all the different sales and negotiating closes, all the different operation stuff, things like power teams and corporate structures, all the different financing strategies, all the different analysis and due diligence, and there's a copy of the poster. These are the 273 things you need to know to be a real estate investor. And do we have some posters?
Yes.
Okay.
We do.
So if you join the REIA as another bonus, you get this cool poster. And then when you come to the event, you get preferred front row seating, you get lunch, and then I'm going to teach you how all this stuff on the poster works. So that's what we're going to do.
One of the best ways is spend 3 days with Goto and power team VIP because you will spend more time with them. So I highly recommend take this blueprint. I have them right in my office, and so is everyone else that's in our network. So I highly recommend have this, they frame and put it right in their office as people to follow through. And at the 3-day workshop is going to be only $100 if you guys want to be VIP. So yes.
There we go. And Olivia, I know you always do VIP, so there we go. Yes. All right. So anyway, fill out the form. If you guys online, just click on the link. I will explain a little more logistics on the workshop a little bit later. Just the profile form. Oh, for some reason the form did not show up. Wow. Oh, maybe here it is. Okay, there's the form. Okay, so what is on the form? Name, please write your name legibly and your phone number and email address. If you don't write it legibly, then somebody else is going to get your tickets to the workshop. Pick which city. The date that is stamped on the form is day 1 of the 3-day workshop. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So pick the location, the city that you're wanting to register for. The workshop is on sale for free, so just check if you're coming live or in person or online. Even if you come in person, you can still attend online, so you can go back and forth if you need to. And then please join the REIA. It is $100 if you join the REIA. So if you want to join the REIA, check that box and be a patron of the REIA and get all the wonderful benefits there. There's also a lot of resources in the Texas REIAs. So if you tell us a little bit more about yourself, we can connect you with the right opportunities that may be good for you. And that's it. So we'll collect the forms at the end. If you join the REIA, you also get a poster and some other benefits as well. We'll give you a little VIP envelope when you leave. Okay, those are the dates and locations, and I'll put this up again at the end as well. But let's get back to the presentation, and I'm going to talk about the last part, which is the strategies. So marketing, check. Let's get into the strategies. So people ask me all the time, well, what's the best strategy? Well, there's so many different ways you can be a real estate investor. And people always ask, well, what's the best? Well, let's talk about that. You can do short sales. You can do buy and hold, mortgage assignments. You can do auction options, referrals. You can do wholesaling, contracts for deeds. You can do lease options, house swapping. You can do wraparound mortgages, equity partnering, and of course you can do fix and flip. And you can certainly spend a lot of time and money on all this training and education. My wife and I have actually spent over $100,000 on training, coaching, seminars. Most of it was great. Some of it was not great. It all sounded great. But I don't feel bad about spending over $100,000 on our education because we've actually made many millions of dollars from our education. But I do have a little pet peeve at how most people teach and how most people get taught and how most people start. Because when you look at all of these different strategies, here's the good news. They all work. All of these strategies can make you money investing in real estate. That's the good news. The bad news is they each only work in unique situations. Each one of these strategies is actually the solution to a specific problem or situation. But remember what I said earlier, marketing is job 1. Job 1 is finding the deal. So here's a brand new investor hunting for a deal, does some marketing, sends out some letters, and he gets a lead. What is a lead? A lead is just a name and number. My slide just backed up, sorry about that. A lead is just a name and number of somebody that might want to sell real estate. So if this guy got a lead, and if he only knew how to do a wraparound mortgage, he could help solve a problem and get himself a check. But he doesn't know how to do a wraparound mortgage because all he learned how to do is wholesaling because he went to one of those silly wholesale seminars and he's looking for a wholesale deal. He didn't find a wholesale deal, he found a wrap deal. He doesn't know how to do that, so he can't make any money on that lead, so he generates another lead. And now if he only knew how to do a mortgage assignment, he could solve a problem, get himself a check, but he doesn't know how to do that because all he knows how to do is wholesaling. So he's not going to make money on that lead, so he's going to do some more marketing, generate yet another lead. And now if he only knew how to do an assignment, he could do an assignment, get a big check. So you're starting to see the problem. Here's the problem. There's 30,000 YouTube videos out there that tell people how to get started investing in real estate. And what most of that education says is you need to get started by learning one strategy, and this is the best strategy. No, this is the best strategy. No, this is the best strategy. Well, whatever, you need to learn a strategy, make money on that strategy, and then after you learn how to make money on that strategy, you can learn some other strategy. It sounds pretty good, it feels pretty good, but forgive my language when I say this, that is a completely ass-backwards way to go about this. Saying that you need to get started by learning one strategy and make money on one strategy before you learn the other strategy, that's kind of like saying you need to go to Las Vegas and learn how to bet on one number on the roulette wheel. And after you make enough money betting over and over and over again on that one number on the roulette wheel, later on you can learn how the other numbers work. Well, that's ridiculous. Yet that's how 95% of real estate investors get started investing in real estate. As it no surprise that 95% of real estate investors give up before they ever get going. And probably 99% of wholesalers. So let's talk for a minute about wholesalers. There's nothing wrong with wholesaling. In fact, it's probably the easiest strategy to teach and the easiest strategy to learn. The problem, however, with wholesaling is I would argue it's overall the hardest one to do that on average makes the least amount of money. So when somebody tells me I want to get started by wholesaling, here's how my brain translates that. I want to do the hardest thing there is to do that on average makes the least amount of money. And I know from my experience that about 99 out of 100, maybe not 100 out of 100, but about 99 out of 100 people that go down that path end up giving up before they ever get going. Because if you work really hard at something that doesn't make you a lot of money, you're going to give up before you ever get going. For example, how many of you have read the book, The Millionaire Wholesaler? That's because it's never actually been written, and it never actually will. And I own the domain, so I know it's not written. So yeah, it's never been written. It never will be written. So I'm going to teach you what the top 5% of investors do. And I'm going to say, play to be in the top 5% or don't bother. So here's how I do it, and here's how I teach it. What I'm going to teach you how to do is I'm going to teach you to bet on all the numbers on the wheel and then spin the wheel a lot. What do I mean by bet on all the numbers on the wheel? Use all 12 strategies. Why not learn all 12 ways to fill out a contract and solve a problem? You spend time and money, it's called marketing, to get somebody with a problem to call you. If there's a way to help them and solve the problem and get paid, you need to help them and solve the problem and get paid. And once you know all 12 strategies, we have a strategy for every problem that exists. There is no exception. Motivated, non-motivated, free and clear, underwater. And then what do you want to do? Spin the wheel a lot. That means look at a lot of deals. Take a lot of shots on goal. If you make 300 offers, some of them go in, right? Sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time. So let's talk about the strategies. Actually, I'm going to tell you one more quick story. This was my first big deal. After I was a real estate investor for just over 2 years, I flipped this house, again, very close to here, and I actually made $291,000 flipping this house. Pretty good profit, but the more interesting part of the story is I was actually the 8th investor at bat. So what does that mean? 7 other real estate investors looked at this deal before me and passed on the deal. How is that possible? How could 7 different real estate investors pass on a deal, an opportunity to make almost $300,000 profit? How's that even possible? I'm going to tell you it's not just possible, it's actually typical. Let me tell you the rest of the story. First investor walks into this house and says, I'd love to buy your house, but you're underwater. You owe more money than the house is worth. You can't afford to sell me your house. Second investor walks into this house and says, I'd love to buy your house, but you're in bankruptcy. I can't buy a house in bankruptcy. Third investor walks into this house and says, well, I can help you avoid a foreclosure by doing something called a short sale, but I can't do that while you're in bankruptcy. Plus you have a mid-construction project. I don't do a mid-construction project. I walked into this house and I said, my, oh my, oh my, you have a lot of big problems here. Big problem means what? Opportunity. Big opportunity. It took 3 different strategies to solve this guy's problem. I solved the problem, I got the check. My competition was a bunch of one-trick ponies. Most of my competitors are a bunch of one-trick ponies. There's 30,000 books and seminars that teach people how to be one-trick ponies. One-trick ponies are annoying, they get in the way at times, but they don't last long. Guys, if you think you're going to find pretty houses at big discounts just waiting for you hanging off of trees, yeah, you're smoking crack. This is what opportunity looks like, a big bundle of problems with a nice pretty bow around it. I want a house where half the house burned down. I want a house that had a meth lab that exploded in the garage. I want a house, right, that flooded. I want a house where someone was murdered in the living room. Oh yeah, you could make a killing on a murder house. I own one. How do you make a killing on a murder house? All right, let me give you guys a tip. What do you think it cost to buy a murder house? $5. Yeah, not much is the correct answer. 20 cents on the dollar. And you know when you buy a murder house at 20 cents on the dollar, you know what everybody says when they go by that house? They point at that house. That's a murder house. And a year later, everybody going by the house. They point right at that house. Man, something bad happened in that house. And a few years later, they're going by that house. And they kind of look around. They're like, somewhere around here, something happened. And about 5 years later, they look at that house, and what do they say? How much? Stigmas go away. And there's all kinds of stigma in real estate. Murder's not that common, but stigma is. And stigma goes away. I bought a house for $180,000 on South Congress. What did I do? I did nothing. I waited 5 years. Now it's worth $480,000. What did I do with it? Nothing. I rented it to a guy that didn't mind living in a murder house. I gave him a deal. Right? But the point is, problems are opportunities, and big problems are big opportunities. So you got to look with the problem, right? You have a mindset. So I'll tell you another story. One of my students recently bought one of those $150,000 Teslas, paid cash for it, and he calls it his air car, H-E-I-R, air car. Yeah, somebody died without a will. Oh, but they did have 42 heirs. And everybody said, no way, man, no way are you going to get 42 people to agree on something, big problem. Well, he rolled up his sleeves, and it took a little effort, but eventually got 42 people to agree that a little bit of something is a whole lot better than a whole lot of nothing. Now he's driving around a $150,000 air car. So problems are opportunities, and big problems are big opportunities. So we use marketing to find the problems, and then we use strategy to solve the problems. So I got time to teach you two strategies. The first strategy I'm going to teach you today is wholesaling. It's actually the easiest one to teach, so I'm going to teach you right now. How does this work? You simply find a property and get it under contract. How much does it cost to get a property under contract? Nothing. Can we all afford that? I think so. And then after we get it under contract, we're going to simply sell or assign our contract to another investor for a fee. Okay, how much is the fee? Well, it depends. $500 to $5,000 on a small deal. Okay, $10,000 to $25,000 on an average deal, $25,000 or more on a big deal. And this is a no money and no risk strategy. I've discovered it's really hard to lose money when you're not spending or investing any money. So let me give you an example of a deal. This is Kimberly. She came to the workshop. We weren't doing it for free at that time, so she paid. But she did her first deal, and she told me about her deal. I'm going to share the story with you. And by the way, when you come to the workshop, I tell a lot of stories. I teach the theory. You got to know the theory, but then I show the story. So you're probably going to hear about 100 different stories, which are case studies, examples of how somebody did this or that or whatever. So I'll give you a story. Kim had her mom visiting her from out of town. So she's in the car with her mom, and her mom's like, Kim, where are we going? Oh, well, Mom, we're going to get a house under contract. What? Kim, are you crazy? What are you talking about? You just graduated from college. You don't have any money. You don't have any credit. You don't even have a job. What do you mean you're getting a house under contract? Don't worry, Mom. I know what I'm doing. So Kim's mom watched Kim walk into this house in South Austin and offer the seller $265,000 cash for the house. And he signed a contract. Now, obviously, he was a motivated seller. Obviously, they talked on the phone ahead of time. Kim then took that very contract and she posted it out to this network. Do you know that we meet every minute of every day, of every hour online? Right? Do you know over the last decade, the members of this community have posted their questions thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times, their questions, their offers, their contracts, their referrals back and forth over this network, right? Thousands and thousands of times over the last decade. So Kim posted this deal over the network, and guess what? Several other members of the REIA wanted to buy that deal, that contract from Kim. And one of the other members of the REIA offered and paid Kim $17,000 for the contract. So Kim just sold her contract to another member of the REIA for $17,000. Now Kim is a believer. Well, actually, Kim was a believer. Now Kim's mom is a believer. Now, what would Kim have done with the contract had nobody wanted to buy the contract? What would she? Exactly. Terminate, right? But she didn't need to. So who bought the contract? Another member of the REIA by the name of Tatiana. Let me tell you about Tatiana. Tatiana paid Kim $17,000 for the contract. It became Tatiana's contract. Crossed Kim's name off, right? For the buyer, she wrote her name, or really her company's name in. She gave Kim $17,000, and then she got the contract, and then she bought the property for $265,000 cash. She had the cash. She kept it for 6 months. After the tenants moved out, she did a renovation, a small addition, and then she sold it after owning it for 12 months. And when she sold it, she made almost $100,000 of net profit that she only had to pay long-term capital gains taxes, no income taxes. Do you think Tatiana was pretty happy that Kim found that deal for her? What do you think? Yeah, of course, you bet. So let's do a little poll of the audience. Again, no right or wrong answer. I'd like to get full participation. By a show of hands, how many of you are cash buyers? Raise your hand if you're a cash buyer. Okay, let me ask a different question. How much cash do you have to make a cash offer? 0. Well then, how much cash do you actually have to be a cash buyer? 0. You don't have to have any cash to make a cash offer. You don't have to have any cash to be a cash buyer. You just need to know people with cash. So let me ask you guys another question. Does anybody here know somebody that you could call if you got a smoking hot deal to buy a property for a big discount for cash? Does anybody know such a person? Who could you call? Yeah, what do you think I'm doing up here? Over here, guys, over here. And in fairness, there's hundreds of guys just like me out on that network that would be pleased as punch if you guys got out there, got some properties under contract, you don't want it yourself, pitch it back to the group. That's why we need you. That's why we want you. That's why we'll even train you, right, on how to be educated, contributing members of this community. But I can tell I have my work cut out for me. So let me try this again. By a show of hands, how many of you are cash buyers? Raise your hand if you're a cash buyer. How about you guys in the back of the room? Raise your hand if you're, oh, that's fantastic. I love talking to a room full of cash buyers. And the REIA instantly puts people with cash in connection with people with deals. Instantly puts people with deals in connection with people with cash. Right? All those stupid wholesale classes. They say, oh, the first thing you need to do is build a buyer's list. No, I built you a buyer's list. We got 20,000. They're already there. That's the easy part. Don't waste your time. Right? Your job is to go find the deals, right? And we'll teach you that at the workshop. All right. Our next strategy is a bit more complicated and, in my opinion, a bit more interesting. It is called buying a property subject to the mortgage. This is buying real estate even with no money and with no credit. And I'm going to tell you, I am a nationally recognized expert at teaching this strategy. I've literally taught tens of thousands of people how to do this, and now I'm going to teach you how to do this. What does this mean, and how does this work? How does real estate work? When somebody buys real estate, how does that work? They go to a title company, they sign a stack of documents. Most of the documents are disclaimers and disclosures, but there's 2 documents that you sign at the closing that actually make the transaction happen. The documents that make the transaction happen are the deed and the note. The deed and the note. Whosever name goes on the deed, that's who owns the property. Whosever name goes on the note, that's who's responsible for the mortgage. So there's a deed and there's a note. Notice these are completely separate instruments. Now, normally it's the same guy that is on both. Guy buys a house, his name is on the deed, his name is on the note, he owns the house, he's responsible for the mortgage. That's normal. He moves into the house, and it's his house, and all the rights and privileges and responsibilities and benefits of home ownership, they go to him. It's his house. At the end of the month, he gets a statement from the bank, says you owe us $1,000 for your mortgage. He writes the bank a check for $1,000. The bank gets the check, they cash the check, bank's happy, he's happy, everybody's happy. That's how it works. And then the guy goes on to get married. And when the guy gets married, well, you know, Texas is a community property state, so the wife is added to the deed. So now there's 2 names on the deed, his and hers, but his name is still the only name on the note. Just because somebody's taken on or off the deed, that does not affect the note. And then time goes on and things don't work out and they get a divorce. And in their situation, the wife gets the house in the divorce. So now something kind of interesting has happened. Now her name is the only name left on the deed, but his name is still the only name on the note. So the question is, as long as he keeps sending a check to the bank every month, or the bank a check every month, or a tenant or a property manager, a neighbor, investor, friend, or family member, or somebody sends the bank a check every month, the question is, does the bank actually care who wrote the check? What do you think? No. There's some dude at the bank opening envelopes. Oh, we got a check for the right amount. Came on time and it cleared. We're good. So if you're all listening to my story so far, I just told you all a story about a woman, about a spouse, about a person that was able to acquire real estate and own real estate even with no money and no credit. So there it is, an example of somebody that acquired real estate with no money and no credit. All right, so here's the really, really good part. You can all do exactly the same thing, and you don't have to get married to do it. Because here's the deal. Anybody, any of you, can go up to any homeowner that has any loan, any mortgage, from any lender on any house at any time, and you can make them an offer. And the offer any of you can make with any homeowner that has any loan, any mortgage from any lender on any house at any time is this. Here's the offer. I will make the payment on your mortgage for you going forward. Or I will find somebody to make the payment on your mortgage for you going forward. What's the catch? The catch is you have to transfer the deed, which is ownership of the property, to me. It's called buying a property subject to the existing mortgage. You can do this with any homeowner that has any loan from any lender in any house at any time. And the only person on this planet Earth that has to agree to this transaction is the person whose name is on the deed, not the bank. The bank has no say in this transaction. There's federal laws that regulate this transaction. Anybody can transfer their deed to anybody. Anybody can pay somebody else's mortgage if they want to. So if you're listening to me closely, here's what you just heard me say. You can buy any house in Texas from any homeowner in Texas that has any loan from any lender. You can buy that person's house at any time, and you can buy and own that person's house even with no money and even with no credit by simply offering to take over the payment on their mortgage, or even offering to find somebody to take over the payment of the mortgage in exchange for them simply transferring the deed, which is ownership of the property, to you. And once you learn how to buy real estate with no money and with no credit, then how many houses can you buy? All of them. It is a very scalable process. Look, when somebody's in financial distress, when they're in financial distress, they got a house, they got a mortgage. Is the house the problem, or is the mortgage the problem? Owning a house is never a problem. Being responsible for a mortgage, that can be a big problem when you're in financial distress. If you solve the big problem by taking over the payment or finding somebody to take over the payment, as an insurer of solving the big problem, you ask them to transfer the deed, which is ownership of the property to you. So it's called buying a property subject to the existing mortgage. And then once you learn how to buy houses, with no money and no credit, how many houses can you buy? All of them. So it's simply agreeing to pay a seller's mortgage in exchange for the deed. Now, when they transfer the deed to you, you own it. You can do whatever you want with it. You can renovate it, retail it to somebody else. You can wrap it. You can assign it and keep it as a rental property. You can keep it as your own homestead if you'd like. I've helped many of my friends here in Texas buy their very own homestead with this little or no money, no credit needed strategy. How much money can you make? Well, there's a lot of ways to make a lot of money when you're buying houses with no money and no credit. Small flip, at least $10,000, typically a lot more. And this is another little or no money, little or no risk strategy. Let me walk you through an example of a deal. So this house is one of the $30 million worth of houses that I own here in Texas. Now, if I wanted to buy $30 million worth of houses traditionally, I'd have to put down 20% every time I bought a house. In other words, I'd have to be a multi-millionaire just to become a millionaire. Well, I wasn't a millionaire when I started investing in real estate 20 years ago. So how was I able to acquire $30 million worth of houses? Well, most of them were bought using exactly this strategy, subject to, including this one. So let me tell you about this house. A woman owned this house worth $150,000. She owed $110,000 on the mortgage. So this house has $40,000 in equity. She had the house rented out for $1,600 a month rent. The mortgage payment, including tax and insurance, is $1,100 a month. So this house is generating $500 a month of gross cash flow. It should have, could have, and it would have been a perfect rental property, except for one major problem. This woman had lost her job. She was continuing to collect the rent, but she stopped paying the mortgage because she was living on the rent, but she stopped paying the mortgage. 4 days before the first Tuesday of the month, when the bank was going to foreclose on her, I knocked on her door. Can I help you? I am here to help you. But what can you do? There's no time. They're going to foreclose on me. How can you help? They're going to foreclose on me. What can you do? There's no time. How can you help? Here's what I can do. I can stop your foreclosure. I can reinstate your loan. I can catch up your mortgage payments. I can make your mortgage payments for you going forward. I can even repair all your credit. Well, that's amazing. What's the catch? You simply have to transfer the deed, which is ownership of the property, to me. And she said, deal. Why in the world did she say deal? Because in 4 days, she's losing the house. That was a done deal. But she wasn't just going to lose the house. In addition to losing the house, she was going to get a little bonus to go along with it. What do you call that bonus? A foreclosure. And I'm going to tell you what I told her. You don't want a foreclosure. You may think a foreclosure is the end of your problem. It's not. It's the beginning of a 10-year nightmare that starts with the sheriff and his deputies dragging you and your family and all of your possessions to the curb in front of your friends and neighbors. It's 10 years of dealing with the IRS, potentially garnishing your wages to collect on a 1099 that could be issued against you for up to the full value of the loan. It's 10 years of dealing with the lender potentially filing a lawsuit against you for up to the full value of the home. It's 10 years of dealing with creditors calling you day and night to collect on the judgment from the lawsuit. It's 10 years of not being able to buy another home, buy a car, get a credit card, open certain bank accounts, rent certain apartments, or even get certain jobs. In other words, it's a bullet to the head. And nobody wants all that. And I stopped all of that from happening to her. And she was thrilled. She even said thank you. And the bank was thrilled because they didn't want the house back. They just wanted their money. So I gave them their money. And the tenants were thrilled because they didn't want to get kicked out of the house. They wanted to keep renting the house. So I let them keep renting it for me. But mostly I was thrilled because for $4,500, which is what it cost me to reinstate that loan, I now own this beautiful $150,000 house. It came with a loan, came with $40,000 of equity, all mine, came with tenants paying me $1,600 a month rent. After I pay the bank $1,100, I put $500 back in my pocket. And if you think that's cool, my wife and I own about $30 million worth of these properties. Some of them took small amounts of money like this. Most of them honestly took more money than this, but then some of them took absolutely no money at all. So how many of you would like me to walk you step by step by step through how to do this deal? Who would like me to walk you through that? All right, we're all out of time. I'm sorry, that's obnoxious, isn't it? We're almost out of time. I got to finish, but I'm going to finish. I am going to finish this. I'm not going to leave. I do love this strategy. Obviously, this is one of the 12 strategies I'm talking about, and I love this strategy, but I'll bet you don't know why I love this so much. Some of you are like, oh, you're making $500 a month. That's not it. $500 is not going to affect my life or my lifestyle at all. What I love about this is by doing this over and over and over again, over the last 20 years, my wife and I were able to accumulate a portfolio that's now worth $30 million. In fact, just over the last 3 years, that portfolio went up in value by more than 30%. In other words, just over the last 3 years, my wife and I became more than $10 million richer from having done this thing over and over again. This thing that required little or no money and no credit. That's what I love about this. This is the strategy that allows anybody, regardless of money or credit, to become multi-millionaires. Because I have to tell you something. No matter how much money you have, not enough. Not even close. You got $500,000 in your checking account, great, good for you, go buy a house. Now you're done. Yep, that was it. Can't buy another house. No, you don't have an infinite amount of money, you don't have an infinite amount of credit, right? You have to do things that are scalable. How many houses can you buy like this? All of them. All of them. Remember, I was mentioning there's this new loan product you might be interested. Would anybody like to buy a rent house, 3% mortgage, no money down, no credit check? Who would like that loan? Here it is. Just find somebody that got a 3% mortgage a couple of years ago that's in financial distress and offer to take over their payments. You just got a 3% mortgage with no money down and no credit. How many of these houses can you buy? And the answer is all of them. This is how you scale up to an infinite level. And once I realized the wealth potential of this strategy, I actually made one additional tweak to this strategy. I no longer buy these houses in my name. In fact, I no longer buy these houses in my company's name. Now when I buy these houses, I prefer to buy them in my IRA. How many of you are aware that you could do this transaction with your IRA? Okay, well, for the rest of you, you know you could do this transaction with your IRA. In fact, come to the workshop and one of our partners will set it up for you so you can do it with your IRA. So what happens when my IRA does this transaction? My IRA puts out the $4,500 reinstatement fee to the bank. The deed transfers to my IRA. Every month, the property manager deposits $1,600 of rent into the IRA. Every month, the IRA issues a check to pay the mortgage for $1,100, and $500 rolls back into the IRA. But that's not the good part. What's the good part? Over the next 25 years, this property will double in value, and it'll double again. And it'll almost double, even with the most conservative appreciation rates, almost double a third time. Something interesting happens to the loan on this property over the next 25 years. What happens to the loan? It's paid off by the tenants. Thank you very much, tenants. In other words, every time my IRA does this transaction, my IRA ultimately ends up owning an asset worth about $1 million that by then I own free and clear. And because my IRA is also a Roth IRA, when I sell this asset in retirement, 100% of the proceeds are tax-free. Did y'all just see what I did? I just showed you how to turn a $4,500 IRA into $1 million tax-free doing one deal one time. The average retired person at the age of 65 has a net worth of $62,000. You do this one deal one time, you're 25 times richer than the average retired person just doing it once. But I'll tell you something else I've observed. I've never seen somebody do this deal once. 95% of the people will never do this deal. 100% of the people do it once, then what do? And they do it again, and then what do? And then they do it again, and then what do they do it again? And 20 years later, they're standing behind a podium at a country club talking about all the times they did it. So one last time, how many of you would like me to walk you step by step through how to do this deal? All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to walk you step by step through how to find this property, how to get it under contract, which contract to use, which attorney and title company to close at, and how to go through all the operational steps for doing this deal. So I'm going to walk you through all of that. But it's going to take me about 3 days, so we're going to have to finish at the workshop. There we go. And obviously that's a pretty cool strategy. That's just one of the 12 strategies, not even my most favorite one. I'm going to teach you all 65 market methods. I'm going to teach you the close. I just taught you first close. That was literally called the atomic bomb close. Those are literally the words I said to the woman. She literally handed me her keys and said, thank you. Now think about that. Saying magic words and somebody hands you their key and says, thank you. And it was a nice house. I didn't even have to give her any money, and she was thrilled. That's what I call magic words. Those are magic closes. Learn how to partner, great way to get started. How to access 1,000 private money lenders. So the workshop is in Austin, Dallas, Houston. Please become a member of the REIA, and you get a VIP upgrade and a bunch of other really great bonuses. I get it, $100 may not be a lot of money or may be a lot of money. I want everybody to get the training, but you really should do the VIP experience as well. And some logistics. It's in Austin, Dallas, Houston. Let's do a quick poll of the audience. How many of you are going to be coming live? Who's going to be coming live? Raise your hand if you're going to be coming live. How many of you are going to come online? Okay. Who's coming live again? Raise your hand live. And who's coming online? So almost everybody's live, but a few live. Why are you coming online? You can, but you should come live. All right. Well, fair enough. Yeah, so those are the latest locations. You guys online, fill out the form online. Please upgrade to VIP. It's $100, and you get a cool poster. You get a training program. You get VIP and VIP lunches with me and my team. And that is basically it. I'm going to answer some questions. Oh, some housekeeping. People ask, can I get copies of your presentation? Yes, we post it on our social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. Just search for Texas REIAs. The workshop logistics. The workshop is 24 hours over 3 days. I teach the whole thing myself, so it's not outsourced. You're going to get me. I'm going to start talking just before 9, about 8:45. Get there by 8:30. You get a good seat. Bring a notepad. You're going to fill the entire notepad with notes, okay? And I'm going to start talking just before 9. We're going to go late Friday, late Saturday, early Sunday. How late? Kind of depends. I'm going to guess 7:30, okay? So they're going to be full days. So if you got a dog or something, make sure you have somebody to take care of the dog. And that's how we're going to do it. And the reason I don't know exactly how long it's going to take is kind of depends on you. Right, I'm going to answer questions and be very interactive. I'm going to take you through a bunch of exercises. Everybody here is unique and different. Some of you have more money and less time. Some of you have more time and less money. Some of you are more active. Some want to be more passive. So we're going to take you through several exercises to build your own unique and individualized marketing plans and business plans. Yeah, that's basically it. If you're coming online, please turn on your camera, stay engaged. We do want everybody there to be engaged. I tell everybody I'm not there to entertain you. You will be entertained, but I'm not there to entertain you. I'm literally there to change your life. So if you're only looking for entertainment, I recommend that you don't come to the workshop and instead you watch a Netflix marathon. You're going to have 3 days. You can polish off 5 seasons of an excellent, very entertaining Emmy award-winning show, right? If you want to get your life changed, then show up on time, bring a notebook, ask a lot of questions, and get prepared to put together a plan with my help. A few other questions, and I'll take some questions from the audience in a minute here. How much experience do I need? 75% of the people that come are newbies. 25% are experienced, but they're coming to join the network and they're coming to learn some of the advanced skills. Can I bring my significant other? I highly recommend you drag them by force if necessary. And I'll tell you why. Because every time I teach somebody and they don't bring their significant other, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go out and you're going to find a house. You're going to go home, you're going to say, honey, guess what? We're buying a house. And what do you think honey's going to say? It's not going to go well for you. Trust me, I will make it fun for them. I can't tell you how many people brought their disinterested spouse. They became so interested, they were the ones that picked up the ball and ran with it. But even if they're not interested, by understanding it, they're going to be much more supportive. How do I know this is the real deal? My advice is don't ask me. Ask somebody who's done it. I do something kind of interesting. I ask everybody I teach, give me feedback, handwritten feedback, because you can't fake that. And we scan every feedback form and we post them on the internet for the whole world to look at. And if you would like to see thousands of feedback forms, go to that link. Now, why would I post every single feedback form, thousands of them for the whole world to see? Go look for yourself. And I'm going to tell you what you will see. 99 out of 100 are all the same. Oh my God, this was literally a life-changing experience. And if you don't believe me, go look. Where do I get my tickets? Fill out the form. You get your tickets emailed and texted to you. If you'd like to get even more help, join the REIA, and then you can post online. That's where you can interact with me and all the other members. And that is basically it for the logistics. You guys online, fill out the form online. You guys live, this is all the dates. And I think I went through the form, so make sure you fill out the form legibly.